Good evening, or afternoon, or I guess if you're on Mars, whatever time it is on Mars. I am going live, live. Why? I'm just waiting to see if it pops up in the browser. There we go. We are live. Okay. That is weird. Like YouTube. So when I'm doing this with someone else, like I'm on someone else's stream and I have the YouTube loaded or whatever, stream on, it automatically kicks in when the live show starts, right? But when I'm doing it myself, I have to refresh the YouTube to see if I appear over there. It's maybe if I had the paid version of StreamYards, I don't know. Two new additions here. No. The two little raccoons. They, for some reason, come in clearer than everything else in the background. It's out of focus. Although my computer rack comes in pretty clear too. I don't get why some things are blurry and others aren't. I have a couple topics, about 6 or 7 of them actually. For this show. No one is here yet, so I will wait till 3:05 and I will just sort of ramble a bit. I don't have any unboxings this week, unfortunately. Well, I have a book that's coming today, which I would have talked about. Still might talk about it. I'll save it for next week. And I know I'll have new comics next week to talk about. That's for sure. You know. What else is going on? As you all know, I'm always seeking that Pepsi. Someday Pepsi will endorse me, but give me one bottle a month. They changed the logo. This is kind of like the old classic Pepsi logo, and they put the word diet in small letters. So I guess like they're trying to psychologically convince you, whatever. It's a better looking logo, that's for sure. So let's get into it. First up, I'll save the one Pops gave me to see if he comes on later. I'll do it like third. Let's go to this one. Okay. I'm just arranging these in a certain order. So this is from Deadline. Oops, wrong one. I meant to put this first. There we go. That was Pops. So I'm gonna do a Pops later. So let's look at this article before I tell you why it sucks. Right. The Spider Marriage returns in a new J. Scott Campbell Ultimate Spider-Man variant cover. Right. At least they draw Mary Jane looking somewhat attractively. I mean, yeah, her face still looks off. So after unveiling variant covers for the upcoming Ultimate Spider-Man series, Jonathan Hickman and Marco Ciccito showcased a married Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson. Marvel has released yet another variant cover, this time by J. Scott Campbell, something or other. Here's the official press release. Honoring the original Ultimate Universe, Marvel's new Ultimate Universe, spinning out of Jonathan Hickman and Brian Hitch's recent Ultimate Invasion series, will captivate and new and long-time readers with bold storytelling choices. Bull effing crap. So then we get Ultimate Spider-Man #1 yet again, because we had Ultimate Spider-Man #1 20 years ago. So they basically just give you the press release and some pictures, right? Well, not this. This is from something else. Right. So here's a quote. When we decided that we were going to do a book about older Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, really wanted to lean into him starting his superhero life from a very different place than what's been traditionally expected, Hickman explained. Peter and MJ being married is one of the main decisions we made that undermines being quite a different kind of Spider-Man story. And that's where my point of contention begins, or ends, or whatever. I'll leave that up there so you guys can read it. So, that's not where it begins, because many, many years ago, Peter Parker and Mary Jane in 616, the regular comic universe, were married. And JMS, who had taken up Amazing Spider-Man, and Peter David, who had been writing Peter Parker, it was called Spectacular Spider-Man at that point. He had a good long run. Both wrote a very good marriage. Okay, the new guy on Web of Spider-Man. I want to say it was like Angel something. He was a brand new. He was a very young writer, Latino, and I started to enjoy his work. Right, and I thought he wasn't doing the marriage so much, but he was still a good writer, so he could have done well at it. And what did they do? Joe doesn't know best. Casada, the moron, decided he didn't want Peter Parker to be married to Mary Jane. He thought the marriage inhibited Spider-Man, so he decided to end the marriage. But he didn't, not through divorce, or not through killing Mary Jane up, both of which were in bed anyway. No, he doesn't do time travel. JMS actually suggested doing time travel, which actually would have at least left the marriage intact in alternative timeline, right? Can't do that. Can't have one of the greatest science fiction writers of all time for TV shows, who was a way better writer than Joe Quesada ever will be, right? Can't go with his suggestion for that. You can't go with Peter David's suggestion where you basically kill her off or whatever. No. What they decided to do is have Aunt May get shot, and none of the super awesome super healing abilities or powers or machines, none of that can somehow be used to cure Aunt May, right? No. We have to have Mary Jane, not Peter, the one who has the great power and responsibility. We have Mary Jane basically sacrifice her marriage to Mephisto in return for healing Aunt May. And also got rid of Peter Parker's secret and put it back in the closet. So Mephisto basically won. And we've been in what I call the Mephistoverse in Spider-Man for since then, and that was called One More Day and Brand New Day. I have not paid for a single Marvel comic until I think in 2020. I subscribed to an online service, mostly to read that Darth Vader series, which I thought I know it's Disney Star Wars, but thought it was okay. It had some good moments, especially one panel that was great, you know. But then I canceled as soon as that series was over. And as soon as I read that series, I think it actually ended before I signed up for it, and I was like, how do I put it? I was like, until they, on retcon the end of the Spider marriage and get rid of the Mephistoverse, right? Because we're in the Mephistoverse. We've been in the Mephistoverse since then. Until they did that, I have no interest in paying for a Marvel comic. That was before they went woke, okay? And then they went woke with the last, 7, 8 years and just destroyed their character. Now I have kept up with comic storylines for the comics I used to treasure, like Spider-Man, Thor, Iron Man, Avengers, Captain Marvel / Carol Danvers, the Avengers and whatnot. I've kept up with storylines and have read a couple of comics through alternative means when I thought the storyline might have been interesting, but not so much in the woke era, but in the Mephistoverse before the woke era, right? So I have an idea of what's been happening in the comics, but I'm not paying for that crap. I'm not paying for the Mephistoverse, basically. So where does that lead us to this? Well, before I get to this, we need to know that the original Ultimate Universe had a title called Ultimate Spider-Man, okay? And the premise of the Ultimate Universe was to have another continuity, totally separate, never would cross over, and would have none of the past 30, 40 years of comic continuity, and it will be its own thing. But it would start in the modern time, so to speak, right? And they also wanted to advance in real time, which might or might not have occurred. Hey, Zach, how you doing out there, my friend? How are the snowy fields of Canada today? We got Zach's in the chat. So anyway, so Ultimate Spider-Man, which was written by Bendis, was a very good book, and what they could do in Ultimate Spider-Man, which they couldn't do in the main Spider-Man, was they killed him off. And it's one of the best Spider-Man arcs ever. It's basically Ultimate Peter Parker's last stand. It's coming, Zach. It's like Jason Voorhees. Snow in Canada is like Jason Voorhees. It's relentlessly coming after you. So if you ever want to read a great arc, That's one of the top 10 Spider-Man arcs. The Death of Ultimate Spider-Man. It plays off very well. The one of the things is that Ultimate Captain America is a total asshole. So anyway, so what do they follow up? Well, they decided to make Ultimate Spider-Man 2, and that meaning in a sense that like Spider-Man, when there are different versions of a character in the same universe, they become like Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2. So Ultimate Spider-Man 2 was Miles Morales, okay? And he took the book over and he had a pretty good run on it in the Ultimate Universe, right? Then flash forward to they decided to end the Ultimate Universe, but obviously some of those characters are still popular. So what do? They say, oh, we're going to make Miles Morales move over to the main universe, right? So he is a main universe Spider-Man, right? And then they go full triple down on their garbage by rebooting the Ultimate Universe and making married Peter Parker with Mary Jane, Spider-Man in a marriage with the kids, you know, in the Ultimate Universe. This is this total this is garbage, okay? This is I mean maybe the writers on this are like, we let the marriage and this they'll let us write. I'm fine with it conceptually, but I really wish they would put 616 back to before, just undo the Mephistoverse, get rid of all the garbage they've done since then, and then have a separate, put the continuity back to where it made sense. But this is just tripling down on the garbage, this Spider-Man nonsense that they're doing right now. So, have any questions about this one, Zach? I don't even like the art. The artwork doesn't even look good. In any case, so this article, one down. My next article I'm going to talk about is this. Now I will be doing a review, a short one, a spoiler for this is spoiler friendly here, spoilerish here, or I may just clip this out or whatever. But I will be doing a review of this. No, I'm not gonna. I don't want to turn this whole. I'll do this whole thing into a review because I'll be here. I could rant about this for an hour now. So it's called Monarch Legacy of Monsters, right? And it's basically it starts right after Godzilla 2014, and there's a flashback. There are flashbacks to the 1950s and 60s and whatever, right? Now, the mistake they've made with Godzilla 2014, though it was the least offensive, Godzilla 2019, which was the most offensive, Godzilla, that was Godzilla King of the Monsters, right? And then Godzilla vs. Kong, which was okay, still bad in this way. Hey, Dempsey. Welcome to the show, Dempsey. Yep. Hopefully I won't say anything shocking and cause you to crash there, Zach. So anyway, so and Kong Skull Island was the least offensive in this regard. And what I mean is, these are movies about giant monsters, kaiju, right? They're not about it. Okay, the entirety of the human plot, right, should be centered around the kaiju, the giant monsters, the things we're there to see, right? And if there are humans involved, the human plots should always be based on what's going on with the kaiju, right? So, for example, let's talk about Godzilla 2014. Okay, Ford, who is our main character, his story was tied into the kaiju because of his dad, because of his involvement with the nuclear bomb. So him being there was fine, and they added weight to him by putting his family by having him have a wife in San Francisco and kids. But what they shouldn't have done is have them be in any danger. Like they should have introduced them as characters, but had them evacuate out because we didn't need to see any of them and being in danger in the movie. That was an extra 5 minutes of wasted time. No one cared because they weren't going to kill them, right? If they killed them, then you would care, but they don't care because they didn't kill them, right? So, and then looking Godzilla 2019, we had two villains, both of whom had incomplete storylines. Well, not incomplete, but like why do we need Genocide Mom and Tywin Lannister? Why do we need both of those villains in that show movie? You could have cut 10 minutes out of that movie and replaced it with more monster fighting. You know, um, so it's like that with these legendary movies. They keep making the mistake of having human plots that have nothing to do with the kaiju that you just don't care about. So here we go to Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Very well done. No problems with that aspect of it. The CGI I've only watched the first episode so far. I want to get a review of it out and talk about it before I watch the second one. Right. Um, the monsters that we've seen, some of it looks reused footage. Some of it looks like updated versions of older footage. Um, but it's well done. You can't fault them technically, right? Where do you fault them? Well, our main protagonist is a daughter of a missing scientist type character, right? So they think he's dead. So she gets key that to his apartment in Japan because he travels around a lot. She goes to Japan, and there are two people living there: a young guy a little around her age, and another woman. It turns out that this missing scientist guy is a polygamist. He has at least two wives and two sets of kids. Now, they spend 15 minutes with this stupid relationship, the stupid polygamy thing. 15 minutes of angst and whatever. And guess what? It has no effect on the plot, and no one cares. I didn't care. I wonder most of the audience didn't care. They could have cut that out and maybe had more monster fighting. Right? This episode. This is your. This is like your opening at bat to the World Series. You know. Yeah, Zach. That's the point I'm about talking about. They had that 15 minutes in there talking about the polygamy and how the guy was a philanderer and how they were all upset by it. No one cares. I mean, no one legitimately cares. We're there to see giant monsters and things about giant monsters. And you know, we're not there to see Days of Our Lives while the monsters are in the background. We're there to see giant monsters. And that's like 15 minutes of like they could have just cut it out and made a short episode that felt less slow, or they could have filled out more monster fighting, right? Like they had the opening teaser monster fight with that giant crab and the giant spider, right? Okay, cool, a little short. Why didn't we have a big monster throwdown instead of that stupid 15 minutes? Like they tease a Godzilla attack, right, or some other kaiju in the middle of the polygamy bullcrap, and don't give you anything. Like and I can understand the second episode. Maybe you want to slow it down. I haven't watched it yet, but that first episode, there should have been a kick. They should have got rid of this, and then that's a little old Matt. What about getting it? You want to have some sort of conflict between the two siblings, to have them grow together. But how? Well, how about he's the older brother from the first wife that they never knew about or whatever. Then you don't have to worry about any polygamy or whatever. You just have two siblings who both have their dad they think is dead, didn't know about each other. And that's enough human drama centered around a guy who just threw a kaiju to not have 15 minutes of bullcrap. Okay. So, and so now this series is getting glowing reviews. Let's just go take a look at, I want to go over to, I hate using Rotten Tomatoes, but it's what everyone knows. Monarch. Yeah. I gotta. For some reason, my screen share turned off. Let's get it back on. Man, there are way too many tabs open. Here we go. Okay, so this is our so this is getting high critics and high user scores, right? And again, I'm not complaining about the quality of the production, okay? The acting is good and all that, but there's this tedious storyline full with stuff that is just boring and had nothing to do with the kaiju. So I mean, I guess I could see why. Like there are these things that I call okayists, who are like type of fans who are okay. Like they'll watch something and say, "This was okay, I enjoyed it." They'll never watch this again. Okay, they'll never ever watch Monarch Legacy of Monsters ever again. Most of these fans, because there's nothing to draw you back. Like you can go back and watch Kong versus Godzilla Godzilla versus Kong, for example. The monster fight, the kaiju fights are awesome in that movie. Uh, you can make a case that the Godzilla versus Kong at sea, it's certainly I think it's the best kaiju fight in all the legendary Godzilla movies. The only thing that's even close to it, in my view, is the final fight with Godzilla versus King Ghidorah in the first one. I mean, obviously some of the fights from classic Godzilla are better than any of those, but I'm not gonna play picky, be overly picky about it, But you can't like, but you're not gonna go back and watch all the human stuff. You're gonna fast forward through it, right? Because there's way too much of it, and that's the point I'm making. This is about monster movies, not humans with monsters in the background, like as background characters. Okay, so let's go over. Okay, so now this is one that Pops gave me last week in my throw it out to the audience section. Uh, so this is so Angel Studios is a studios that made Sound of Freedom, right? And matter of fact, I forgot to order my Blu-ray of Sound of Freedom. Did it come? Let's just double check. I'm not gonna Amazon. Uh, Sound of Freedom come out yet? I think it's this month. Freedom Blu-ray. Okay, so Sound of Freedom, the Blu-ray. Is the DVD out? Um, it's out on DVD. I can't find it on Blu-ray. Let's Sound of Freedom Blu-ray release date. Okay, so it did come out on Blu-ray on November 14th, so it's been out like 2 weeks. See, I knew I forgot to order it. 'Cause I want to have that in my collection, obviously. Anyway, so let's go back here. So Angel Studios is the one who made Sound of Freedom, and obviously now that they got their massively successful, like for the amount they paid versus the amount they made, they're making money hand over foot on this movie, right? Regardless of I mean, the topic's not controversial to me, but some people will say it is. So now they have a position, they're in a financial position, they can have more backers, they have more money, more seed money of their own, they can put more movies out. So this is a movie, a true story, Bonhoeffer. Uh, so let's just do the article for a bit. Angel Studios, studio behind the Supplies global blockbuster Sounds of Freedom, has acquired worldwide rights to Bonhoeffer, aka God Spy, a true life thriller written and directed by Sully scribe Todd Komarnicki. Spotlighting the courage and sacrifice of an extraordinary World War II hero, the film was slated for release in theaters in 2024. So the subject is Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a pacifist pastor determined to live his life with uncompromising political and spiritual courage while choosing to live in Berlin during the Third Reich. Conspiring to end the Nazi regime, he fiercely spoke the truth while featuring unyielding aggression and evil. Right? So obviously it's a true story, and they'll be doing it. So I suspect Angel Studios will do a great job with this one. I am only loosely familiar with the core source material. Like I remember, reading about this guy maybe once or twice over the years. You know, but you know, uh, I also saw talking about Angel Studios. Uh, they were on Timcast this week, and they have another movie they're doing. Basically, Angel Studios is going to have a whole bunch of stuff coming out. That's the best way to put it. And it's kind of so. And I suspect all their stuff is going to be true to original source material, as opposed to rewritten for a modern audience, right? So, if anyone has any questions about that, let me know. So I'll go on to this. And this is a topic, a section of my show I call pander casting, right? So what is that? That's a new word I invented. Pander casting, one word, and this boggles the mind, right? Tyrone Magnus, who is one of my favorite YouTubers, does a lot of his opening to this reaction. He's kind of had it with all the pander casting, and go watch his reaction to this news. It's hilarious. The opening is hilarious. Galactus has had multiple heralds, okay, including at least two female ones, if I remember correctly, Nova and Frankie Ray Nova, and there's another one who I don't remember. I don't think Stardust is female. Stardust is the one that Beta Ray Bill body slammed through a planet and blew it up. Um, yeah. That was a really cool comic watching Beta Ray Bill basically. I shouldn't say better, more like he speared Stardust through a planet and blew it up. That was like one of the coolest fights you'll ever see in comics. You know. Um, Anyway, but so instead of making the Silver Surfer female, since it's not a Silver Surfer, it's a Fantastic Four, maybe introduce two Heralds of Galactus, Silver Surfer and Nova, right? Use an actual female character. But by the way, fans liked Nova. Okay, I'll show you who she is. Ray. So this is well, at the time Galactus' newest herald. She's Frankie Ray. She on a character named Nova. She was dating Human Torch for a while, and she chose to become Herald of Galactus. And fans like this character. Obviously, it's a great image and basically a chick made of silvery fire. You know, um, and you know, hit her with the surfer. In nice. I actually I have most of her comic appearances. Okay, um, at least back then. I'm sure by now they've ruined her, but and she had a cool ending. She had well, Dempsey. It's not that she was overly original. It's that but if you think about it, I mean, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, even Thor is not obviously not an original character because the Norse god Thor in Norse religion and mythology, right? You know, so these characters, there's archetypes of characters that exist, right? But and if you implement it well, give it a little bit of a twist, like make it unique. Like the artwork is obviously she looks like her, so to speak. She's not just a copy paste of another character, Um, yeah, that's what I'm saying. As a comic fans, we know we're going to get these characters that are very similar to other characters. The question is it a twist? And the fans liked her, and she had. I'm trying to remember the end. She had a cool story, and she had a tragic ending. Did Terax kill her, or let me go back? It's been a while since I. Okay, I believe she died. I'm scrolling down. Maybe I'm misremembering. Yeah, so she died. I don't remember how exactly she died, but I remember she died and can't. Oh, morgue. Morgue. Like morgue. Oh my god. All right, right. That story arc with Frankie Ray's death and Morgue and Silver Surfer is what again, like on my like I in my tiers of great comic arcs, tier one, tier two, tier three are the ones that I always remember to go read. This is in the third tier, obviously, because there are a few flaws with it. But when uh, Morgue, okay, so Morgue was punished by Galactus because Morgue was as powerful as the Silver Surfer. He was, yeah, yeah. So Dempsey. Let me put Dempsey's comment on screen. Okay. So Morgue was a herald of Galactus, who was a brute like Terax, but maybe not quite as smart. Because Galactus just wanted to eat at this point, right? He wanted to consume planets, and Morgue would just go there, do what he had to do to pacify the planet, so Galactus could just consume the essence of eternity from it, the essence of life. And um, Morg was very brutal, but Morg was the first herald of Galactus because people don't realize that the Silver Surfer was more powerful by far than any other herald of Galactus. Okay, and Morg was the first one that Galactus gave equivalent power level to. Okay, um, yeah. So Morg eventually gets depowered. Well, so Morg kills Nova, right? In that story arc, Galactus removes the power cosmic, and then Morg goes off and does something to claim this other power. That's how awesome he was. And then he gets hunted down by other heralds and he gets killed by the Surfer, right? Um, and it's a cool arc, right? And we were all upset when Frankie Ray died. I know they sort of brought her back spiritually later, but she's that would be a cool story arc for the Silver Surfer and Fantastic Four. Don't even bother with an origin. Like have the Surfer already be friend to humanity or whatever. Have Galactus show up again. Have Frankie Ray become a herald, and include that, and spin it off into the Silver Surfers with the cosmic arc with the heralds, and maybe you can have Annihilation as part of it, and kind of mix and match it. There's a lot of cool stuff you could do with that. They're not going to do any of that. Instead, we're going to get this garbage. We're going to get the fact here. So, female herald rumor first surfaced back 2019. Who is writing, editing this crap? Like, this is not a sentence. Female herald rumor first surfaced back in 2019 that Kevin Feige is a big fan of the John Byrne run. That is not a sentence. That is a collection of phrases. Okay. So who is writing this crap and who is editing this? Anyway, sorry for a minute, guys. It is again claimed that Galactus will have a female herald in the upcoming Fantastic Four, which rumors of Frankie are over. But here's an update. It's now claimed that Faye might be going with the female Silver Surfer. Why Faye? I mean, I guess he just wants to keep flushing money down the drain. Just keep flushing money down the drain. I mean, the Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards thing is hilarious. This goes back to the whole Zimmerman thing in Florida, who the media was all over the fact that it was a white dude who did it until they found out he was a Hispanic Jew, And since then, I've identified Latino peoples as the conveniently white people, meaning, so Pedro Pascal, who's a Latino, is now conveniently not a white guy to bring diversity, right? But he is basically a white guy. So when this movie goes to China, they don't have to artificially lighten his skin or edit him out of posters like they do for other black Disney does for other black characters when they send movies to China. So here we go. Way back in 2019, so the Lords of Lombok shoot down a rumor that Tyrant that's another Herald of Galactus, was going to be used as the Herald of Galactus in the flick. The rumor said that Frankie Ray is going to be introduced in Fantastic Four movie at the Galactus Herald after the Silver Surfer leaves Galactus and goes off to Earth. That will be fine. We have a female Herald. That would be a cool thing to introduce a female Herald off of the male Herald of the Silver Surfer. No, we're not going to get that. We're not going to get that at all. Okay. Here we go. Let's get Dempsey's comment. How to ruin your mood before it even comes out. Gender swap, one of the most iconic Marvel characters of all time. They already have female heroes. There's no need for that. Exactly, man. We're on the same page, as well as like a million other people who are YouTubing about this or social media posting about this. It's insanely stupid. It's just it's double secret stupid, to borrow from the Animal House reference, because you already have female characters that fans and general audiences would like, and instead you're telling people like us who are of the fans, don't bother, because we've been doing this through woke casting for years, right? And the general audience is going to go into who they're going to ask like let's say, my cousin who's a general audience type, they go, Matt, what is this about the Secret Service? And they're saying she's female now and wasn't male, and is that cool? And I'm going, no, that's not cool. I'm going to tell them about the Silver Surfer in general and the classic nature of the character, right? Um, so the general audiences are not going to be joined by the comic book fans, and then the I don't know 10 woke weirdos, who they're making this movie for, or how are they going to get audiences in to see it? It just drives me crazy, you know. That's the with finding candles. It drives me crazy. Dempsey. Here's another comment from Dempsey. I call this noun face. They take an IP's nouns only and write their own, completely separate from the source. And always you just start using those nouns. Yep, exactly. That's what they did, for example, with a Wheel of Prime. What they took all the nouns from Wheel of Time, the books, and just wrote a different story that's full of crap. Is there anything else in this article to talk about? Wait here. Here's one. And let's be honest, giving Galactus a female herald fits with Fahey's approach to Captain Marvel, Phase 4 and beyond, and are rumored about the Fantastic Four movie. It's claimed that it's all about Sue Storm portrays Reed Richards in a negative light. So not only are they going to pander cast the Silver Surfer, they've picked Pedro Pascal, a big name actor who is a minority, is a comedian minority, and they're going to make him a bad guy for a woman. Now, I'm going to bet my bottom dollar that Sue Storm is going to be a Karen. She's going to be a white, left leaning woman, and I bet my bottom dollar. You know, so we'll have to see. Anything else in here? Could it be? Nope. Okay. So let's move on to something a little more, one more negative article. Then I got two positives. Okay. So Andrzej Sapkowski, The Witcher, on the Witcher adaptations, they never listened to me. So this has been spreading the rumor, spreading around the net, so to speak. He obviously the author of The Witcher, and he's writing a Witcher novel. And you can go read this. I'm going to be very brief about this. Yep, exactly. Exactly true. I gotta do something with this headset. My headset battery died, so I'm gonna take it off. I gotta change that battery. It's problem. It's soldering, and I'll set off my fire alarms. I'm gonna do it in the kitchen because I don't have the fire alarm in there. Anyway, so I've talked about this before. Anytime we know how much of a disaster the Witcher adaptation was, um, for Netflix, and we all went into it. Even though the first season had problems, most of us enjoyed it because of Henry Cavill, because of the setting, because of the action. And then it went off the rails with the second and soon to be third season. Cavill left because they were deviating from the lore and all that, and they tried to demonize him, but the fellow actor said no, and they're not, and whatever. Um, I made this point before. The good adaptations like Reacher, like Terminal List, um, uh, a couple any other good adaptation, they seem to exist because the original creator has creative control of the IP. And when they don't have creative control, we get crap, to quote the Saturday Night Live there. And this is just more in the line to the same thing. I mean, the good news for Witcher fans is he's writing another book in the series. So there you go. Now I got a fun article. Okay. The most insane, the most insane Star Trek concepts that nearly made it on screen. So if you guys never heard any of these, you're in for a treat. And this face of this Riker face here is perfectly fitting it. Perfectly. Deanna Troy almost had 3 or more boobs. So there you go. It's no secret, and this is an article from Giant Freaking Robot. And who wrote it? Chris Snellgirl wrote it. Okay. It's no secret that Deanna Troy was treated as a sex appeal of Star Trek The Next Generation. In any given season, she seemed to have more revealing wardrobe changes than she had substantial lines of dialogue. However, part of her sex appeal was nearly doubled because franchise creator Gene Roddenberry wanted the character to have 4 boobs. Yes, that is true. And I'll summarize this. So DC Fontana talked him out of it. DC Fontana is one of the all-time great Star Trek writers and science fiction author. She's a science fiction author. So luckily she talked him out of it. But I just think it's hilarious that Roddenberry didn't even think, oh yeah, we're going to take one of our main characters and we'll make our feature that she has 4 boobs. I can just straight facing him doing. Yeah. So what's our next one? Captain Picard almost wore a wig. So here we go. Star Trek: The Next Generation helped establish Patrick Stewart as a kind of a captain, new kind of captain. Not really. He was the brain to Kirk's brawn, the diplomat to Kirk's cowboy. Apparently, this guy didn't watch past season 1. But Roddenberry, here you go. Roddenberry was so worried that a bald captain wouldn't work, so he had Stewart audition in a wig for a wig. But the producers made him drop it. Okay, so and as a bonus, this is why they had Picard, who was a Frenchman, spoke with a British accent. He was originally supposed to be French, like his background, and have a French accent, but the producer didn't like Stewart's accent, French accent. Right? So over to here, the notion that he was the brain to Kirk's brawn, they changed that up. I want to say sometime in the second to third season, where they realized that having Picard not be aggressive and fight in any scenes, and having Riker do all of that, was making Riker look like a meathead, and Picard look like a lame ass. So they basically the idea was that Picard would represent the intellectual side of Kirk, and Riker would be the physical side. But they realized that made two limited characters. So Picard got more action scenes, and Riker got more intellectual scenes later on. Because Riker had a very early like fan representation as being a total meathead. You know, it's like there's fan edits of the Star Trek dialogue where Riker would make a suggestion, and instead of Picard responding, he would go, yeah, whatever, number one, just keep your mouth shut, and I don't need you to find anyone yet. The dude just kind of, so next. Riker was almost replaced by his clone. So if you don't remember this, there was the transporter can make there's a thing called transporter duplicates, right? So the way a transporter works versus how a replicator works, the transporter, like let's say I'm transporting a bottle of Pepsi, right? So let's say I'm going to transport the Pepsi. It doesn't copy this bottle. That's what the replicator would do. The transporter scans it down to a subatomic level, right? Breaks the bonds on holding the atoms together, captures the material that's there, drains the energy, the bonding energy, but keeps the actual mass of it there, transports those subatomic particles to wherever it's going, then restores the subatomic bonds to put the object back, right? So when you're a person, you're the same person you were when you got sent. But the transporter can be a replicator, right? So there's a thing called a pattern buffer where when you're being transported, it will store you in the pattern buffer so you don't get accidentally erased, basically. And will send you down, and before it rematerializes you, before it puts that mass in there, make sure that it has the pattern correct. Because if it puts the pattern incorrect and puts you back in, it will kill you upon rematerialization. Well, then what's supposed to happen is once you've been transported, your pattern gets erased, right? But what can happen, because the transporter is like a replicator, is that it can completely take that pattern, pour extra energy into it, and make a copy. Okay, now that copy becomes its own separate person from the point of divergence, right? So in that episode, we were talking about, you know, uh, oh, that's one. So in the episode we were talking about here, which is Second Chances, Riker gets a transporter duplicate. So okay, this is a deep okay. So I got a comment from Dempsey. Um, in Star Trek, the transporter will filter out extraneous biological viruses and stuff like that, right? Um, and so like if you come back with the disease that it knows about, it will filter that out. It won't let that transport with you, right? Um, and regarding say tumors, well, a tumor is part of you. So if you have a tumor when it scans you, it can't remove that tumor, right? But or or it can't repair you. Well, it could repair you if you still have the old pattern in a buffer, you can reset people. Okay, so you can grab like I don't know. Did this happen in a show at all? I know it happened in the novels where they had a couple characters who were. I think this might have been an episode of Next Generation, where they were aging and they used the transporter to reset them to their youthful state before they got exposed to radiation or whatever. I think it was a Next Generation episode. I'd have to go look it up. You, uh, what they if you ever um they've done that in the novels, Dempsey. Well, here's the thing, Dempsey. It does. Whatever your pattern is in the buffer, like let's say they don't delete your pattern from the transporter buffer, right? And then grab and then transport you 5 hours later, right? And they don't put your new pattern in there, but they still have the old one. You'll get overwritten with the old pattern, which includes resetting your brain to before you gain your memories for the last 5 hours. So, but if you look and watch what they do in sick bay in some of the episodes where they talk about it, I think they do use some of that transporter tech to sort of get stuff out of people's bodies and whatnot in a very targeted fashion. So anyway, let's get to the article also because it's I think it's kind of funny. So a great example is the TNG episode Second Chances, which is built on the creepy blah transporters. Okay. In an episode, Riker meets an accidental transporter clone of himself. The six run just long enough to give Riker an existential crisis. One Deep Space Nine cameo later, the character was never seen or heard from again. So that character, so what happened at the end of that character was of the Star Trek episode, the Next Generation episode, is that Riker and that character decided they would be brothers, and then Tom Riker went off to have his own Starfleet career. Then they decided to ruin that character by making a member of the Maquis, having them pretend to be William Riker and steal a starship, the Defiant, and then he just disappears basically. You know, but they were originally going to replace him with replace like Commander Riker with Lieutenant Riker. That was part of their like thoughts. Oh, this is a funny one. The Ferengi were going to be comically well endowed. The Ferengi underwent more changes in Star Trek history than almost any other race. Most notably, they went from barbaric warriors to savvy capitalists who love weird misogyny, almost as much as they love Latinum. But Gene Roddenberry nearly took this sexualization of the Ferengi to the next level by giving them huge penises. Yeah, Roddenberry was a weird guy. Right? According to writer Herb Wright, Roddenberry had plans to give the Ferengi huge cod pieces to symbolize their oversized anatomy. Allegedly, Roddenberry spent 25 minutes reviewing potential Ferengi sexual positions before Wright gently reminded him this was a family show that really shouldn't be making viewers at home imagine what those giant orange pieces should look like. Ah. And this is one of my favorites of all time. Captain Kirk nearly got into a fist fight with Jesus. Some of the crazy unused ideas may sound more plausible than others. For example, thanks to the William Shatner directed Star Trek V The Final Frontier, we saw Captain Kirk fight a being that claimed to be God. It was almost much worse. An early script for the first Trek film almost had Kirk get into a fist fight with Jesus. The premise involved an alien shapeshifter that could assume the faces of pretty much anyone, and the climactic battle involved Kirk giving those goofy Star Trek punches to the face of Jesus Christ himself. Obviously, the first film ended up being very different. They changed it, but uh, you know, uh, okay, and it would be several more. It would be several more movies before Kirk fought an alien pretending to be a famous religious figure. That's Apollo. Um, So if Roddenberry's original script had been filmed, we'd have to ask how big a codpiece was he going to give Jesus? Uh, I can imagine Kirk fighting Jesus. Okay, so I got one more positive article. Now this one's going to get a little technical, guys. So I need to drink. I want to talk quite a bunch of this. Let me take some liquid. So in the late 1970s, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 were launched to take a tour of all the planets, so to speak. And eventually they got there. They got to Neptune and all that. And then they went into the outer solar system. And these two probes, basically, they're still running. They've had to some of the scientific instruments have turned off because of malfunction. Some of them have been turned off because they serve no more purpose where they are, right? But they're still out there sending us data as they head beyond the outer planets towards what we call the Oort cloud. Now they're not going to make it there in terms of likely lifespan because what the way it works is so let's say this is a Voyager probe, right? Let's say this is the dish that transmits and receives signal from Earth, right? Um, that has to constantly be adjusted to point at the Earth, okay? And it does that with these thrusters that have a tiny, tiny amount of fuel, hydrazine, if I remember correctly, and it would spurt little spurts of it out. It doesn't take a lot, like to adjust it minutely, just so that dish can still send and receive to Earth. But once it runs out of that fuel, we're going to lose communication because it will no longer be able to adjust to keep pointing to Earth to send and receive. Okay. One of the probes, also some of its hydrazine jet thrusters have become clogged with like hydrogen, like residue or something like that. I don't remember the whole premise. So the computers on board, there's one sort of master computer and two slave computers off of it. Like the master computer controls the craft. One of the slaves does the science. The other one does like adjusting the satellite, if I remember correctly. Okay, but they're not computers like we think of a modern computer. Okay, um, if you ever take like electronics and a particular class called integrated circuits and digital circuitry, you might build what's called SAP1, which is the simplest as possible computer. And this computer is basically an algorithmic. Let me find an image of it. Simple as possible computer schematic. Uh, oh, here's SAP1. Wow, man. Okay, so that has ads. Uh, okay, this will work. So this is a simple schematic for for SAP one. Okay, as simple as possible computer one, a block diagram, and you'll see like uh your loader, your register, your algorithmic logic, your register B, your memory, which is your RAM, um, your MAR, the instruction register, and all that. What you don't see in here are hard drives or any of the more stuff in more advanced computers. So the way these simple computers run is um, they just keep running a circuit, which still exists in modern computers, but everything they don't have an operating system. They just run a set of instructions that are program that are either hardware instructions or instructions that are loaded into your memory. Okay, your into your RAM here, your memory, and I didn't put it on screen. Dumb me. So you know, so here, sorry, I totally glossed. I should put it on the screen. So your algorithmic logic unit, ALU, register A, register B. Um, this is your clock circuit. Um, something register. I forgot what it stands for. This is your RAM, instruction register, timing control, blah blah blah. All this output, all that sort of stuff. So, and there's a bus, and it just runs in a big circle at this timing and control circuit. Keeps running in a circle, and it's going to look at the first line and the first whatever the instruction, the first line is going to do that, and the second line and so forth, and it's not going to change. No user input, none of that, right? And that's the type of computer that Voyager 1 and 2 are running, right? And they're written in assembly and machine language, okay? So every so often, when something happens, they try to update those uh, underlying instructions that are loaded in your memory, your RAM. And when you do that, the circuit that keeps running will pick up the new instructions, just do them, like but there's no operating system there that you can run a program on. It's just a circuit that keeps running over and over, right? So it's a very specialized programming to keep these things running. And they recently, back in the middle of October, they did a project where they found some engineers who still knew how to program an assembly machine, and did a software update for Voyager 1 and 2 that will give it more extended life. I think that kind of thing is fascinating. Um, that these space probes that we built 45, 50 years ago are still operating that far into deep space. You know, so for example, one update ought to fix the corrupted data that Voyager 1 began transmitting last year. Another set aims to prevent gunk from building up in both spacecraft thrusters. And that's the latest update that they did. And these things, 45 plus years later, are still sending us data. I really wish we do more Voyager probes, but this is amazing human engineering. So let's see here. Engineers are hammering together a software update, which they first delivered to Voyager 2 on October 20th. It takes a whole day at this point for information to travel to and from it, and it's sent in 16 byte or kilobyte, I forget which, bursts. So, but they only has like 70 or 80 kilobytes of RAM, so of memory. So, uh, you know, yeah. So that's my feel good news and sciencey news. I think that's all I had planned. I'm at my hour limit. Dempsey or Zach, if you have anything you want me to talk about, give me a type up, so to speak, in the chat, and I will look it up. Now, I like to do one or two random articles at the end, so I'm going to go just look up some random stuff. Let me just get rid of some tabs here. I like 10 of them open in this browser instance. Okay, so I will now find 2 random articles to talk about before I close the show. So let's check out Blade Disgusting. Nothing interesting looking there. Let's try Bounty in the Comics. We already talked about that. Let's try Collider. Nope. Let's try Cosmic Book News. Dread Central. so Thanksgiving is a horror movie. I heard about that. There was a funny meme of like, could white people even say the title on the internet? You know, my general assumption, Dempsey, is that anything that is going to come out is going to suck, and I will be surprised if anything is good in the modern era. That's just the reality of it. This is a horror film that's obviously not for everyone, but as far as horror mockumentaries go, this was a pretty good one. Giant freaking robot. Let's see what the Netflix sci-fi thriller written by one of the greatest authors ever is. Oh, I heard of the Adjustment Bureau. Well, okay, here's one. Here's cool. Lost city under the ocean, unlike anything on the earth. According to a recent report from Science Alert, a lost city has been discovered in the watery depths of the Mid-Atlantic. Though the discovery was first made by researchers over 2 decades ago, scientists have continued to uncover new and exciting details about the underwater ruins, which sit just over 2,300 feet beneath the surface. The highly unique structures consist of many jagged towers rising to the murky depth of the seafloor, with some reaching heights of over 200 feet. The lost city, known as a hydrothermal field, is known to science as the longest-lived venting environment in the Atlantic Ocean. For more than 120,000 years, the site has served as a hydrocarbon venting location, allowing excess gases such as hydrogen and methane to plume out and escape from the silicate-heavy depths of the ocean seafloor. Oh, this is a hype article. I thought this was really cool, like an undersea rune that was found. This is more like I can't stand when they do that. Don't give me a mist like a fake out. What we got on one? I'll find one more article and then we'll call it. No, yeah, that clickbait. There you go. So here's the thing, Dempsey, about that. The first thing to know is that time as a measurable product, right, as a measurable constant, did not begin at the beginning of the universe. Time, like the Big Bang happened under the current model, the Big Bang happened, and then I forgot the exact point afterwards. Time did not start there. Time starts some point after that, right? So there's going to be a point of the expansion where time would not have been measurable. Okay. So, and in that first instant, the Big Bang is going to accelerate so fast that there's this huge chunk of space where time never existed. So, in theory, that could account for something like that, some object that formed there. You know, the other thing to know is it is assumed, but not necessarily proven, that the universe is expanding uh, slower than the speed of light, right? But there's a great video called "How Big Is." I'll find it and link it. How big is the universe? Okay. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that video or not. It's called "How the Universe is Bigger Than You Think," right? But basically, we can't. We are only in the observable part of the universe, right? Which I think is like 40 quadrillion miles or something, kilometer or something like that. And that's not even that's a tiny chunk of the entire universe. So we can't even see objects that because the light from outside that sphere hasn't had a chance to get to us. So we a lot of our presumptions, like I forgot the scientist who came up with the universe being 13 billion years old, when previously thought it was 20 billion years old. Um, there's still a lot of she did it in the 1990s, I want to say, came up with the 13 billion year model, but there's still debate as to how old the universe really is. Like the currently accepted in met time is like 13 to 14 billion years, right? But there's certain things like was the speed of light always what it was that could affect that sort of thing, MC. Admittedly, I'm at 50. I am probably 10 or 15 years past when I could really expound on the high end science of it. It's more I'm more of a general science fan now than an amateur wannabe scientist. You know, yeah, yep, 42 billion light years. There you go, MC. And most of the universe is still beyond that. But the video I linked is a really cool way to get that into perspective. Anyone's never seen it. You know. Oh, well, let's do my last. Let's find my last article. I'm starting to lose my voice, so let's just get one more in. Collider. We did Collider already. Uh, let's see any musical stuff. Nothing hopping out there. I think we did Redania. Let's try Winter's Coming. And try Screen Rant. Um, yeah, I can't find one more random article to do, guys. Slash film. The Hollywood Reporter. Yeah, I can't find another random article, guys. But we got one from Dempsey, so that was pretty interesting. And Variety. Okay, guys, that has been this week's Friday Fandemonium from the Kingdom. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. There, people don't realize how like there's so much light hitting us because of all the stars like in the galaxy that we're in, and something like the Boots Void, man. There's one of the few really good Star Trek Voyager episodes. Is I think it's called The Void. You might want to. I'll put a link to the Memory Alpha for it. Memory Alpha, The Void. Cheers, guys. So that last link was to the Star Trek 4 episode, The Void, which is kind of what Dempsey's question might be like. So, thanks, guys. Thanks for dropping in. Hit a like, give me a like if any comments and all that. Share the video out if you want. I mean, I know Zach's and Dempsey are subscribed, so but anyone listening to later, give me a subscription if you can. I will be back next week at 3:00 with more from the Kingdom of Fandemonia. My name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73. I am the Prince of Fandemonia. So, cheers and have a good day. Have a good weekend. Happy holidays.